Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
All right, so thank you guys for coming. We're going to go into this really unique experience of channeling your higher selves, your soul, and this is an experience, a healing experience for you to deepen into your purpose, not only as individuals, but also as a couple as well, and just allow yourselves to unveil that deeper part of you that wants to come through. So the only thing really necessary in this experience is just to be open, and if emotions come through, they come through, and that's just part of the experience. Yeah, no, it's just part of the experience as well. But you know, whatever wants to come through in that moment, you don't have to have prepared questions or anything like that. A lot of the way that this works is just being able to tune into kind of like your body and what that feels like. You know, if something comes up and your body reacts a certain way, like, ooh, like I don't want to talk about that, or you know, that protective mechanism sort of thing, oftentimes that's something that we'll go further into, you know, to get to the deeper part of it. But on the flip side, sometimes we'll go into something and that's like, ooh, that feels really good, you know. So there's always a message in all of that, in what you feel during the reading. So, So do you have any questions about sort of how it works, or are you ready to sort of just jump in and discover it?
I think I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm
We're
just
ready.
sort of noticing my body. I feel a little anxious.
Yeah.
You know, so
And
I'm
that's
just
a common thing.
going to try to
as
breathe
well.
through it, and
That's a common
it's
thing.
going to go away. I can feel it.
Right. Yeah.
Better go away.
So we'll just go into sort of a meditation together, and this is how I always open up. And the reason why we do this is I talk about this being sort of like tuning into a radio channel, and you know, if we were to just go into the channeling, it might feel a little bit disconnected, a little bit scattered. And the reason why we do the meditation is it gets us on the same vibration. And then when we go into the channeling itself, then we're on that same level, and it'll feel more real and feel more connected to you.
Okay. I do have a question. Define channeling.
Channeling, that's a good one.
Just because I've read different things, so
Yeah.
how would you quote
Channeling
me?
for me is just tuning into that higher expression of us that's connected to source energy, connected to God, spirit.
Oh, I have to go to sleep now.
I think that's a message. I think that's a message. So that was validation, I think.
Yep.
So you know, it's just about finding that voice within us that transcends the mind and transcends this physical experience, and that deeper part of us that's eternal. So.
Okay.
So when I channel, it's that higher part of you that's coming through. So not only us as individuals, but as collectives together. So
Cool.
So it's cool. It's hitting you now.
You're gonna blow our minds, aren't you?
So don't be surprised when you get into that clear place yourselves. It's not just me delivering a message to you. It's also, we're on that same level together. We sort of merge energies together.
Wow. Okay.
So
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
So let's start by just closing your eyes. You can just get comfortable. And we will start this off by taking 3 deep, gentle breaths. And as you inhale, imagining this golden, effervescent light coming into every cell in your body from every direction. And this energy collects in the lower dantian, which is the point deep in behind the navel. And as you exhale, imagining any extra energy or anything that is no longer serving you that you want to let go of in this next hour, leaving your body, leaving your spirit as smoke. And so you might notice some thoughts come in. You might notice even a little bit of movement in the body that wants to happen. You can just allow that to be. And then you can gently bring your focus to the heart space and imagine this golden sun shining brightly in the heart. Imagining this sun as your soul, as your higher self, the God within you, that is unconditional love. And just feel the warmth and the connection that this brings you as you connect to this space. Visualizing the sun burning so brightly and expanding beyond your chest, expanding to encompass your entire body in this light. And just notice how peaceful this feels. Notice how this embrace feels. And from this place of connection and embrace and trust, you can place your intention for this next hour. You can say, "Dear universe, dear God, please help me to see whatever I need to see, heal whatever I need to heal, understand whatever I need to understand, to help me to further my growth, my expansion, my connection, my awareness in the ways that I need it best, to help myself, to help my family, to help my community and even the world." And if you have a certain intention, you can state this aloud in your heart. And just allow that to be. And when you put it there in the heart space, you just surrender, because you know that you don't have to do the work. From this place of knowingness, you just surrender. And know that the healing and all the awarenesses will come to you automatically. And you can imagine this golden rod of light from the heart space shooting into both directions, down towards the earth and also through the top of your head and connecting you to the heavens, remaining grounded and also connected to the higher part of you. And now we will move into the channeling. Dear ones, it is such a beautiful time to be here with you. We have excitement for you because this is a new time in your experience of co-creating together. And that's how we see it, as you are co-creating together. This new experience of both being so individually gifted, talented in so many ways, and also together a force that is so powerful and also so sweet and also so gentle. You are learning that gentleness is sometimes the most powerful in creating the change within and around you. And so, what is this time really about, you might ask? What is this really? What are we creating together? What is the direction? What is the purpose? As we said, both of you are individually so incredibly powerful, and yet, co-creating together, you are creating something new at this time in your life together, and it's about freedom. It's about adventure. It's about letting go of the need to be something, the need to be this or that, or what should I do to be safe? What's the most realistic option here? That is gone. That is gone now. And part of you is realizing that sometimes radical change is the most important change. And it grants you freedom of expression, freedom to support one another in the way that you want to, and not feel as if you are holding on to something that is not your dream, not your expansiveness, not what you want to experience. You don't want to waste your time anymore. Truly, you want to create in a way that feels like joy, feels like movement, instead of, I'm just doing this because I've committed to it. Or I'm just doing this because it's what I think is right. What I think is right. Or easier. But now there's a part of you, both of you, that just wants to break free and say, what is the most adventurous way? What is the most fun way to do this life? And that when you choose that out of joy, that you will be supported in the tools and the experiences and the people around you to support you in that. So for you too, it is really about not having fear in movement, because it's almost as if you want to plan it out in a sense, and that, but we have to do this, and this is the timeline, and then once this timeline is done, then we can do that. And yet, then what are you doing? What are you doing now? How are you creating now that is of joy and adventure? So don't put yourselves on hold. And that doesn't mean that you must drop everything and say, oh, well, this is for me. It's not that either. But what are the little things that you can do, you see? So it's almost as if, this is the thing, it's almost as if for you it's all or nothing. Either I have to wait 5 years about this, or 10 years about this, or I'm just going to drop it and go. And there is a middle point for now, which is that what if you can find those moments in every day that are just for you? Just for the two of you. And it can be simple as just sitting down and just having a moment to reflect on what is important to you, not what is important to those around you, because that is also part of your life experience in co-creating together. But what is your vision? And that's what all of this comes down to, is what is your vision? And it's got to come out of not out of obligation, but out of that pull within you, that string within you that is fire, that is so passionate, you see? So we want to talk about that with you. And you can each speak about this in your own way and speak about this together as well. But what are those pieces? And if it's not something specific, what is the feeling that you want to create at this point in your lives now? Does that even have a feeling for you? That is.
What do you think? I think there's a lot that resonated with that.
There's a depth to that. There's quite a depth to that in the sense that you know what it feels like for you, for the two of you, is the stillness is where the clarity comes from, almost. Not even out of speaking about it necessarily together sometimes, which you do as well, but also the absence of the motion and the craziness around you is when you truly feel that is the answer. Oh, that is what I want. That is the vision. That is the feeling that I have, that I want to create. So it's not always what is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but what is the feeling that I want to create in my everyday life. It's not, here's where I want to move next, or here's the next class I want to take, or here's the next person I want to go meet up with, or whatever it is. It's, what is the feeling that I want to create on a daily basis that feels like I am putting energy into my purpose. So I guess that is, here's what we're saying, that you're what you would say. So I guess that is how I get the answer. It's just by letting myself go. That is what you would say. And we would say, yes, it is. Just by letting yourself go. That is the answer. And yet the other voice is, but we have to take care of things, right? We're humans. And we have commitments. We have this, we have that, and how do you do that? There's almost like frustration underneath that, you see? But you can't deny that the larger feeling within that, which is, but I deserve to feel freedom, even within this experience, even within having commitments, even within having children, even within all of this, managing all of these pieces, and I can have freedom, and I can have adventure. So it's as if these pieces need to even just express themselves in little ways, not in dramatic ways now, but just in little ways in your everyday life. so that you feel connected to that purpose which you share together and which you both have individually as well. And that's how you can support each other, you see. And support the co-creation, which you are also part of together. But there's that piece that wants to be birthed, or not even birthed, but it wants to be given more life. You see? You can feel that? What do you want to talk about? We'll open it up.
I think we're discovering what that piece is. There's a level of authenticity that we've been getting a deeper understanding of actually lately. We were commenting the other day about we've been in our relationship for going on 9 years, and we're still getting to know each other because it's an opening of authenticity with each other and honesty. And I think in ways we're both experiencing what you accurately called freedom, in a sense. And it's not freedom from giving up responsibilities and doing all those tasks that that we've committed to and we want to, but also I think there's another level we're about to understand it. I think it feels right. I don't know that I'm sure what it is exactly yet. Is it moving? Is it, and I think maybe the message really is being, accepting what is, but also being alive, not squashing yourself.
And you hit that right on the head with that one, because that is exactly what we were saying to you. And of course you are already in tune with this part, and as you shared that you were sharing this vision together and talking about this with each other as well. And that it is that balance of making sure that you are always bringing life into you, that you are never just at a plateau with, you're just not just doing the movements, but also actively asking yourself, am I creating what I want? And am I living in my freedom and empowerment? And what would that look like if I could be free and also accomplish all the things that I want to accomplish? And so you said, well, we're still trying to figure out what that is, and yet you don't have to figure out anything about what that is. It's not one thing. It is, as you said, being. It is about just opening up that part of you that is trying to organize everything and put everything in compartments, and just allow it to just crack open. It's like a geode. That is how we see for the two of you. If we were to use that metaphor, it is like cracking open a geode, or even a better metaphor is a baby chick inside of the egg, being ready to come out of the egg, and it is like pecking on the inside of the shell to try to get out, and yet there is an awareness of that spirit within that egg that knows that it is the right time, and that when it emerges, that it will survive, and it will not only survive, but it will just be. It's not thinking about what's going to happen. Will I be provided with the food and the shelter, and what's the plan here? They don't have an action plan. They're not saying, well, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this life. And so, yes, it's just being, but it's giving yourself that opportunity to. So these action plans, these steps, and these rules are no longer necessary to be safe. You don't have to be safe anymore. So it's really not about knowing what this is. It's about giving yourself permission to go there. And as you most brilliantly said, it's about being vulnerable and raw. And rawness and vulnerability are the truest aspect that you could be. Because when you open yourself up, like the geode, on the outside of the geode it looks like an ordinary rock. And you can't tell it different from other rocks sometimes. You might say that doesn't look very special. And yet, if it never cracked itself open, nobody would ever know what was on the inside of it. So it is similar to the journey that you are on together now, which is just to break open that geode, which is the life experience that you are creating together. Without fear, without the action plan needed to move forward, you see. So, in other words, you don't have to know everything about one another. You don't have to figure that out before you do this. You don't have to say, well, I'll figure this out and then. That's old news now. That's old news now.
It's so safe. It's such a safe thing to plan and organize, and as you're speaking to us, I'm sensing that what's underneath is fear.
And yet, the larger part is what? It's not fear. The larger part of you isn't fear. That's only the very smallest part.
Mm-hmm.
What is the larger part?
Well, love.
Absolutely.
It's all about love.
If you were to say trust, we would have said, but love. So you've got it. You've got it. Listen to yourself, you see. The two of you are good listeners, not only of each other, but also of your own selves. And you know what feels in alignment. And you know what doesn't work. And yet there's room for growth. And room for growth doesn't mean, oh, that's scary. That doesn't mean, oh, that's risky. It means, oh, an opportunity to discover. That's an adventure in itself. That's why we're saying adventure, movement. Those are two very important things for you. And moving into it without fear. And even when you notice fear, it doesn't mean that you have failed. It means that you can say to yourselves, oh, there that is again. That's interesting. That's interesting. And then keep going. So what are some examples in which you could apply that? What do you think? Dig deep.
What do you think?
Well, I personally feel that we've been sitting here, the word togetherness has kind of been overwhelming, because as we're talking about fears and the unknown, that those kind of don't exist as long as you have togetherness, because we are able to we're each other's safe place, and to go out and move forward and be adventurous, and that togetherness and vulnerability and honesty, but for me it's the togetherness, take my hand, and whether there's some bumps along the way or our fears, that in the ultimate end, the togetherness is what embraces us and keeps us moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. So that fits all in with adventure, right? Creativity, creation. All of this is about being creative with yourselves, being creative with your opportunities instead of, well, this is the schedule and this is what I've always done and here's what we're going to do. Predictability goes. Predictability is gone now, as far as we're
structure.
concerned. Yes, yes. And what is lack of structure in all versions of your life, in all areas? You know, that is something that you are used to. And yet, what if you could take the fear out of all of that and just imagine the joy of not having that? What would that look like? So this is the essence that we're trying to get at with you, is not just certain pieces of your life experience together that are interesting and so in alignment with one another, but what would it look like to just create out of your imagination, just so beyond your imagination? Because for the two of you, we want you to not be predictable anymore. You want you to not be predictable anymore. That's really the desire underneath all of this. Underneath fear is predictability. That's what it is. And quite frankly, both of you individually are just, you don't want it, it's boring and you know it, right? And yet you have already had that inkling within you. You've already had that awareness within each of you. And you want it, you want to expand. You want to create bigger, adventure bigger, dream bigger. And you talk about it a lot. You talk about it a lot. And yet it's always in the future, in the future, in the future. But how does that help you now? It doesn't.
It makes you feel stuck.
It makes you feel stuck. You said it. So here's the energy in the present moment that we're trying to get you to see here and feel. Most of all, not just hear it, but feel it. Is in this moment, at this very moment, how can you create that place of freedom, that place of adventure and excitement that you want? That's the question. And first and foremost, it's to not keep pushing everything into the future for you. Because when you're doing that, you're holding your creativity, your full selves, your capability to create this far away from you at all times. It's like, yes, but I can't right now. And we're saying to you, it's not going to be too much. It's not too much to dream that way. And what is wrong with dreaming? Is that selfish? Is it? Is it infringing upon others to even think about something new and maybe even crazy in your minds? What is, you see? It's like what's holding you back from even just, it's almost as if, it's hard for you even to even think about it, let alone plan something, but to just think about, wow, I would really like that. It's like, no, I can't even go there. Can't even go there a little bit.
I think for me, I just had the realization that we're always, or I feel like the next step is going on to something larger or bigger or greater. And I just had a realization that moving forward for me is not bigger and greater, it's simpler. And so, trying to tell yourself versus, society, because society is always, it's always driving us to, well, your next step has to be something larger than what you currently are doing or what you currently have, and that's not aligning with. So my next move is simpler and more harmony, I feel. So.
And to really blow your minds with this, is simpler bigger? That's the question.
I think it is.
I would say yes. Like less is more.
Yes. So instead of bigger means more effort, it means more moving outside of myself, it means more just following the line that everyone else is following. Does that mean bigger? No, it does not. It does not. And simpler does not mean less. It doesn't mean less controlled. It doesn't mean wild. It doesn't mean irresponsible. It doesn't mean selfishness. It does not mean selfishness.
Can you help with trying to find the balance between, I'm not sure how to word this exactly. Let me think for a sec.
Feel for a sec.
Let me feel. I'm working on that feeling thing. I think Kim and I are very much aligned in a lot of ways, and that there's fears sometimes about taking risks or adventuring or disappointing one another for each of us being authentic. Like, you know, I might feel like I'll disappoint her if I want to do a certain thing, and she may feel the same. There's safety in us being together, safe at home. Is there a way that we can learn to work through those pieces? Because I do feel like we are aligned, and there is some fear that is strong.
Yes. Well, you just said it. We are aligned, and the and is the most key part of all of this, and what we're going to summarize for you, which is you are aligned and you have room for growth. And room for growth does not mean that's going to be scary, really terrifying, that's going to be really hard, that's going to be, you know, we have to work out all the steps to, you know, what are all the different things we have to break down here? Again, this is too much work. This is too much stress about it all. What if it came down as simple as, well, you just spoke it out loud, right? So you have awareness that maybe you're a little fearful of disappointing, and maybe together you are both fearful of disappointing each other. If that were the case, and we'll say that is the case, then what if awareness was all you really needed? What if awareness was simply the opportunity to allow that as part of your co-creation together? Meaning, the next moment that you, Lisa, you have a dream to do this. You want to let's just give you an example. You want to go to this place to experience this certain thing, but you're saying to yourself, wow, that's a little bit selfish of me. What if Kim does not want to do that? Or that's not really in alignment with this timing, and I'll just sit this one out for this time. You feel that restraint, right? And yet you think it's helpful, but you're pulling back from you. And that can be felt together as well, energetically. And so when both of you are sort of pulling back from yourselves, you're pulling back from each other as well. So you're at a distance, energetically speaking.
Which I think we felt before.
Yes.
You know, it seems to me what feels right is our beautiful relationship. It's founded and grounded in love. And I never worry about that ever going away.
So that's the answer then.
But,
If that is-
or not but, and we each live as, not as individuals, but we each honor ourselves and our needs and desires and wants, not in a judgmental way or fearful way, but in some way to be able to support the authentic self as individuals.
Absolutely.
I think that's the
So
crux
that's
of it.
what it is, though, is your own allowance of you to come through. Because you've already shown, and you've demonstrated, and we can feel this for you as well, that you are exceptionally supportive of each other and grounding for each other and holding one another in a way that is truly beautiful. And yet then there's a part of you that is, but what if that's not really enough or something? But it's not. You're putting it in the light, you're thinking about it in the light that maybe there will be disappointment or such. But when in actuality it's all the struggle really is within you about it. That voice that is what if that's not enough, or what if that's not grounded enough, or what if that's you, that's all you.
no.
You see? So
Yes,
if you were to just give yourself permission to just be, hey, this is what I want to do. And why is that less? Ask yourself that. Instead of the fear about what's going to happen if I say this, or because you already said, I already know that this is right. I already know that I will be supported. I already know that. That's a truth. Then the untruth is that other voice.
The fear of disappointment.
Yes. So it's not really about the two of you, it's about you individually.
Mm-hmm.
You individually. And you project that onto one another. And then you say, but then how do we work through this together? No, how do I work on it with myself?
Mm-hmm. It's almost like we experience the same piece we have to work on, or, we've spoken about it, this understanding of our individual self-worth and how much that creeps into or can block even movement forward because it's so scary. I'm not good enough. And if I disappoint Kim, I'm not good enough then. And if she disappoints me, then she's not good enough. And so we're sort of lingering in that space of not being good enough for each other. We vocalize that to each other over the years.
And yet both of you are saying, but I support you.
Yeah.
And yet both of you are saying, but I still love you. But this is perfect, but. And then you are saying, but I don't want to disappoint you at the same time. So what if awareness of that voice is truth enough? What if awareness that that voice is not true is enough? What if that was just false? What if it's not about how do I work through this and what are the steps and what's the protocol? What if it was just when you notice it, oh, but that's not true? I mean,
It sounds very logical.
and also easier and better.
I mean, what you're saying sounds logical. To just be. Everything comes back to just being, in a way, accepting what is, and not having a judgment about it or making stories up or...
Because you noticed that it was a story, right? So you noticed it.
I'm
You
a
noticed.
professional story writer.
That is the most beautiful way to say it. We say to our friends all of the time, we say to our human friends, they get their undies in a bunch. That's your favorite saying, is that, but I am so anxious about this, I'm so depressed about this, I'm so upset about this. And we just say, oh, you're so good at creating stories. You're so good at that. And you're good at creating stories on both spectrums, the so-called good ones and the so-called bad ones. This has nothing to do with your relationship together. We'll just tell you that. And you're so holding each other in this space that it's so interesting and humorous for us to see that you are thinking that it's about each other, because it's almost like you convinced yourself that that just must be it. And yet it can be so supportive that each of you has a similar story in your mind, a similar script in your mind that you have been playing back. So the moment that each of you says it, something that is less than love, that is about not being worthy, you can catch each other about it. And when you catch each other, it's not like, oh, you didn't do that right. Shame on you for thinking that.
No,
it's not
shame.
about that, of course not, and you'd never do that. But that's how you can check in, because there was this air about it that, oh, well, my issue is a little bit worse, so I don't want to bring that to the surface because that'll be challenging. You know, I don't want to infringe by bringing this to the table. But what if it was true that you can just honor each other in what you are both experiencing, and that it's not infringing upon each other, that it's not too much, that it's not a game changer in any way. You just have to get over that. It's really easy. See? Can you sort of feel that freedom in that? Just a little bit.
Yes, definitely. It is easy. It's stopping the tape.
But you don't have to stop it. None of this is about stopping one tape and starting another tape. It's just awareness of the tape. That's what it is. Because you're trying so hard to make something not what it is and change everything into what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how this works. Just as you said, well, I'm aware of all of this, but what do I do? How do we work through this?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that.
Like there has to be some concrete action step that I need to take, and that's not
it.
That's not it.
Because your awareness is movement. Your awareness is the transformation. Your awareness is the support that you give each other. And that's enough. That's more than enough. The moment that you try to get in there and do all this work that is unnecessary, that's when you get yourself so turned around.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it. You're aware of it. You're clear about it. Sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes. My thinking mind.
Yes.
Can you tell I'm an overthinker?
Well, we just help you work yourself out of your own knots. That's how it works. But it's in the most loving and compassionate way, because that is what humans do. And it is beautiful, but you also as human beings, you have great awareness when you can actually focus on your true feelings. You can really observe truth within that. And you have a good way of doing that. You get into the story and then you say, but what if it was just this? Mm-hmm. And that's always the simpler version, but it sounds too simple to you.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the long story, but what if I could just be? You say that. So it's really that simple. And part of all of this is just getting out of the habit of thinking that it's all complex. That it's all about different levels, different steps, different practices, things you gotta do, different books you gotta read. It's not about that. So if you just had awareness, which you do now,
Mm-hmm.
and you just knew that it was just about supporting each other, which you already do, then what is really missing there? Nothing. Only just about catching the tape when it plays within each other, within yourselves, personally. And that you don't have to try to replace it. Replacing it, that causes struggle immediately, because the moment you realize something that you don't want, you try to change it. But then you get yourself in that spin within you that is not what you want. So you're trying to create the spin of what you do want, which is coming from compassion, love, gentleness, and you do that great with each other. How are you going to do that for yourselves now? That's the question. Again, it's not a step-by-step process. It's just about noticing the tape. The moment that you say to yourself, and by the way, you're not saying this to yourself. It's part of the loop. The loop. It's not you though. It's not you. So when you notice it, just notice it. There that is again. Don't have to change it. Don't have to beat yourself up about it. But you can vocalize it. Sure, you can say, I'm noticing this. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Feels foreign. Like I understand what you're saying. There's a foreign element because it's not something I've practiced.
That's it. It's not that you don't know it. It's not foreign. It's that you haven't practiced it.
It's like I can grasp it. I can almost grasp it.
It's only because it hasn't become a practice for you. It's like with anything that you do, and you're so quick to catch on to new things. The moment that you start to practice it, it becomes natural for you. So it's not that you don't know it. You're not learning something. You're remembering something.
It's a great way to look at it.
It's the great way of the truth. That's what it is. You see?
I can't help but ask myself if loss is a component, like the fear of loss when we try to change changing the tape, that loss is so can be so traumatic and scary, and I think because you and I have encountered some pretty traumatic loss in our life, and that we don't want to, we have a fear, I think, of losing what we have if we possibly don't change the tape sometimes, because I know that is true for me, but I think that loss does have some some place.
I mean, like,
with this.
if we are authentic selves with each other,
Right.
that may rock the boat and then turn into a loss.
Sure. Yep.
Indeed. We would feel that for both of you in your own way. It is sort of as if you are both very much aware of each other and also sharing many of these attributes with one another. And so it becomes difficult to separate what is you and what is the other and what is whatever it is. And at the end, it's just whatever it is. You don't even know. And yet, we would say to you, you're already aware that you've been like this about so many things. Just keeping it at arm's length away a little bit. Just because it's easier. Not because you're terrified of really, seeing what you can do and seeing what you're capable of and seeing the adventures you can take and be and the magic you can create. It's not really that you're that scared of that. It's just that you haven't practiced going outside of what you know a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right in the feeling of loss being a big part of this. So you're noticing the tape. But there's almost, within both of you, it's almost like, oh, well, that's just a tape, so that's an excuse. That's why I'm this way. And at the same time, both of you have this feeling that, but that's not really me. But I'm actually capable of sharing more with you. I'm actually capable of, it's not meaning you're being more or trying more or anything like that. You're just opening more. And allowing yourself to open the heart through all channels, not just through one, but through all channels. The fear of loss, that fits under the category of fear, doesn't it? In all ways, but that can't stop you from creating in the way that you want to create. If you held yourself at arm's length away from everything that you touched in your life in all of these many years, you would not feel very good about that. You see? Of course, when you move into the non-physical, it's all beautiful. No right or wrong, nothing lost. But you already are expressing that you want more, right? It's not that you're not good enough now. It's not that you haven't done enough together now, but you're saying, but there's more, and we feel it. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And what if that was enough? You see? This is a common theme with the both of you, is that you feel that there's more and you think there's something that you have to do about it. And it's really not that way. You're noticing that there's some trigger points, there's some things that you think hold you up. What if you're just aware that, there's a part of you that is working with fear of loss? How would that impact the two of you? How would that impact you personally? We would suggest this. Anything that feels like too much for you right now, too much to look at, too much to deal with, but you still want to move through it, you can just hold the space for it. And the best way to do that is you can have this intention and sort of place it in further away from you. It doesn't have to be like you're putting it into action right now. You can kind of hold it as you would, in the dream world even. Mm-hmm. When you go to bed and you can say, well, this is my intention in the dream world. Or this is my intention, don't put it in time, in years. Don't do that. Don't plan it out. Don't
just
say, holding space for it. Because the moment you say, well, I want to be like this in this amount of years, or we have to be like this in this many years, that does not work, you know it. But if you were to say, you know what, I feel a deep part of my being has the capacity for this. That's a great way to put it. Mm-hmm. Has the capacity, not I should be more, not I could really do more, not any of that. Just I feel there's a capacity there and I'm fearful about it. Call it like it is. Mm-hmm. The larger part of you knows, though, that you can expand there. So you don't have to put a time limit on it. You can just say, when I'm ready, I'll be ready. When I'm ready, and in the meantime, I'm going to honor where I am. That takes the pressure off completely. Mm-hmm. It takes the pressure off of you, for yourself, and also you know that you will honor each other in this. You just have to keep reminding yourselves that anytime you have a fearful thought about, well, what if you don't like this? What if this is scary for you? What if you just, no. This present moment is, you're supportive of one another, you're supporting each other in love with all that you are, all the aspects, even the parts that you feel are broken, even the parts that you feel are not developed enough. That's part of the process. That is part of the process. You don't have to get to a certain point to then show it. You don't have to get to a certain point to then say, okay, now I can unveil a little bit more. Stop holding yourself at a distance. It's safe.
I think this piece is extremely important because I think in today's world we're living in this instant gratification, and we have to have the answer yesterday. And I think Lisa and I are both in a place in our lives where, I think maybe for myself, where we are approaching these next years of transition. And, with these years of transition and we've defined ourselves and, been parents and in these transition years, it's almost like we're trying to pre-plan something that's really not even there yet, and which is taking away from our present. And so that really, this past piece gave me permission to save a place for that. And
Absolutely. Not only save a place, but make it prominent one.
Yeah.
Make it front,
Yep.
right in front of you.
Yep.
Because you'll be the first to admit, you two, that you're sort of just in planning mode, not in creation mode.
Yeah.
And how are you going to create? And instead of, at the beginning of this conversation, how are you going to create seemed a little bit like, well, that's too big. That's just too big. And now it's like the feeling of excitement, even though you're not sure, And that's the place to be. Is I don't know, and it's still full. It's still full. Not knowing doesn't mean that the cup is empty for you. Doesn't mean that.
It's like the setting of intention is kind of where it's at. I mean, I can intend to keep planning and plotting and hoping, but I'm really not being here now when I'm like that in that space. I mean, what Kim just said, I almost had an argumentative statement about that, in a sense, not argumentative, but in a sense that I disagreed for just a slight moment, because I thought, well, if I don't plan it out, then I can't reach it ever. I can't attain it. But then I realized that too is not being present. I mean, no matter how I angle it out in my head, because I'm out here, I'm not being present.
Can I just get a point on this one?
You can get a point on that.
Thanks.
We're a little competitive sometimes.
It complements one another.
It's all in good love. She's usually right, it's the truth. Yeah. I like this. I like that. I think this is helping us sort of get grounded again. To look at being together, sharing that space together, what it really means, and trusting one another that we're beyond the deserter stage, that our relationship will grow out of our own authenticity as individuals, and that we don't have to judge it or just create space for it and be supportive of it.
It's as simple as that. It's really about letting yourselves go individually, because together you are supportive to each other, and that feels whole. It's simply in your own little spin that you both do individually that you feel separated from the truth. But you said the truth right there, which is just to hold the space for that growth to happen. And also you were saying that to create the step by step is taking away from the present moment. And we would add, it takes away from the fun, not just the present moment. But you're really meant to have fun. You really want to have fun. Sometimes you say to one another, we just need to have more fun. Just do more fun. So do it for real. Because that's just part of the adventure, like we said in the beginning to you. We said it's not just about those, like taking a vacation. It's not down to that. It's every single day, what are you doing? That's the profundity. It's not the big things. It's each moment creating it really consciously, like you're doing right now, which is the proof that it works, is you're doing it right now. You're in a place of receptivity with yourselves now. And that work does not end, it doesn't reverse. Thinking to yourselves, well, it's all in good right now, but I'm gonna undo this pretty quick. That's not true either. You can't undo that. What you know cannot be unknown. So it's always just moving forward now. So go forward without fear. Go forward just in your knowingness. That's enough. You will support each other. You will support yourselves. That's enough. How do you feel?
Great. I mean, sometimes I need clarity from something higher.
Which is, where's the higher?
Me, my own trusting myself. You know, the things that, like, I know the answers, I know the truth, I know, and then that other thinking voice steps in and rains on my parade.
No, it does not. Right. It is just there. Both are there equally. Both are there equally. It's not that one comes in and does the evil work. It is which voice do you listen to? So you speak it. Listen out loud to yourself. Mm-hmm. You speak it all the time. Yeah. It's all good for you. It's all good for both of you. The adventure is awaiting you.
You ready to adventure?
Always have been.
Yeah, we're pretty good together.
Go forth. Go forth with abundance.
We will.
And so it is. So you can end this session just rubbing your hands together, interlacing your fingers. You can massage your face.
It's a little sore from smiling too.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
And then massage your ears. This helps us to get back in the body. This is why we do this. We do the far out stuff and then we get back and create. How was that for you guys?
Good. It was good, Courtney. Mm-hmm.
Good.